I'll pass it on over here to Patrick.
Cool. Thank you, David. Yeah, really appreciate everyone joining. Definitely a lot to talk about. We'll just say we are recording this and we will be posting it on our YouTube channel in the next couple days. So just letting you all know if you want to revisit anything, it will be available and to share things like that. So okay, today we're going to talk about some data insights that we're seeing in the industry, some trends over the last couple years, some trends that we're hoping to continue to see grow in the future. And then we'll also review one new feature we've recently released that we want to spotlight. And I know a lot of folks are be familiar with it, but we want to just kind of talk through all of that. So, all right. Uh, so today, the agenda, there's really kind of four main topics. We're going to talk about rater efficiency and specifically this rating registration gap and how some trends with that and how Inspection Sync interacts with that. We'll also review the 45L tax credit. Obviously, that's a bit of a a hot topic at the moment. But we'll show some trends and what that has looked like over the last few years, and also touch on Energy Star there because those are kind of tied together. Then we'll talk about energy code only homes and some of the changes and developments we're working on there. And lastly is product listings, which is our new feature. You may have seen it in the mechanical ventilation section, but we'll be talking about that. So yeah, those are the four main ones. Again, any questions you have, feel free to put it in the Q&A down at the bottom, and we'll get to them. All right. So time efficiency and usage. So this section, this is about a KPI, a key performance indicator for the rating industry. So what we're talking about here is specifically the rating registration gap. So what we mean by that is uh, how long does it take from the rating date that's entered in Ecotrope until the registration date in Ecotrope? Um, there's obviously a lot that goes into this with, you know, finalizing the model, getting all the documentation, all the paperwork. Sometimes you have to wait on the builder for things. Um, but generally speaking, it's a metric you can use to see, how quickly am I as a rater able to turn homes around from when I show up on that final inspection to when that home becomes registered. And this is something that builders have started to ask for and key into as they want as quick a turnaround time as possible. Um, but it does vary quite a bit throughout the country, so there's very different expectations in markets like Dallas than there maybe are expectations in Massachusetts. Um, so as you can see here, this is the last 2 years, so the last 24 months. Um, and as you can see, it's been like fairly consistent. It's about 8 to 10 business days, so typically 2 weeks. Um, so one thing that we've introduced a couple years ago is this inspection sync feature. So inspection sync, this is a feature that allows uh, your inspection application to sync data directly into Ecotrope. So you're able to enter information while you're on site, click a button, and that will show up in Ecotrope. This can remove some of that duplicate data entry steps in your process where you finish on site, you come back to the office, and you have to manually transcribe uh, data from your inspection form into your model. It can also help with accuracy because you don't have that extra step where there can be, fat fingering and things like that. Um, we have seen that there is, a connection between folks who use Inspection Sync and being able to draw that rating registration gap down. So Uh, there's also a number of other integrations you can do with Ecotrope. Inspection Sync is just one of them. And oftentimes folks who get to the point where they're using Inspection Sync, they're typically also using other free to use integration endpoints. Okay, so oh, backclick there for a second. So, okay, over that same 2-year time period, the percentage of HERS ratings that use Inspection Sync has gone up considerably. So it's gone from, basically almost no usage to now on average over 35% of homes that are HERS rated utilize the Inspection Sync feature. So, that's pretty sizable growth. So how has that impacted the rating registration gap over that time? So this is a little busy, but the blue line is the rating registration gap for raters who do not have Inspection Sync, and the orange line is raters who use Inspection Sync. Um, so on average, over the last 2 years, what we found is that folks who use Inspection Sync are typically able to turn homes around about 3 to 4 days more quickly than folks who don't use Inspection Sync. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors that go into this turnaround time. Inspection Sync is just one of them, but eliminating that duplicate data entry that can help speed you up and reduce some of your back-end reviewing of making sure the model is good to go, because it's all already synced up, and you can put more and more of your modeling effort on the front end of a job than having to do a bunch of cleanup at the end of a job. So this is what we're seeing. Yeah, at this point, the industry average is typically around 8 to 10 days. Folks with Inspection Sync are routinely down around 5 to 7 days. Yeah. All right. This is one other metric that we've used to kind of calculate how the integrations are impacting HERS raters. We typically assume Inspection Sync between saving the folks on site time as well as kind of the back end duplicate data entry time can save on average about 15 minutes per project. Reports API, that's another integration feature we have that can save typically about 5 minutes per project. It can automate how you're able to generate reports and distribute them. So these two features, the graph up top just shows how often they're used. But these two features have saved over 5,000 work days in the last year across the industry. So that's a lot of time saved. And that time can now, think of it as like opportunity cost. That time can now be used for, additional scenario modeling, additional, time on site working with the builders, additional time spent on marketing and sales operations. So, really the goal of these is to take some of those more manual, just kind of administrative tasks that don't really add that much value to your role as a HERS rater, like copying data from an inspection form into your modeling software. So it's just to give a sense of kind of the impact we're seeing of these features. And obviously we would, be really excited if folks who aren't using them are, interested in working with us to move to potentially implement those. All right, that's all we had for time efficiency. Just wanted to touch on those. Let's get into some of the kind of hot topics, 45L and other market trends. So, big picture, 45L, it's the industry tax credit. It's been around for close to 2 decades. And as of the beginning of 2023, was tied to the Energy Star program and the DOE Zero Energy Ready program. It's a federal tax credit. sure many folks know that. So this is 45L compliance rates over the last 4 years. I included 2022 here to show what the Energy Star 3.1 compliance rate was that year. In 2022, Energy Star was not tied to the 45L tax credit like it has been the last few years. I'm just showing that as reference to kind of show the impact that having 45L tied to the Energy Star program has had over the last few years. Last year, 2024, more than half of the homes that went through Ecotrope met Energy Star 3.1 and qualified for a 45L tax credit of $2,500. That's considerable. And I mean, having this has undoubtedly helped boost builders' interest in having both Energy Star compliance and, as a result, HERS ratings done. The drop off in 2025 is due to, as of January 1st, Energy Star 3.2 was now the requirement for the 45L tax credit. And it's a much more stringent program. And as a result, the compliance rate has gone way, way down. And this is just 2025 so far this year. I would say, this is typically, this is somewhat expected. Energy Star 3.2 is often, 10 HERS points more difficult. That's a big jump. But I think it's probably more in line with what, this is typically how programs like this operate, where, they'll set a goal that's achievable, but, and as more and more people reach that goal, they'll make the goal harder to help drive builders to use less energy, which is the goal of the Energy Star program. Okay, so as that 45L compliance went up, you can also see the HERS and CO2 indexes have gone down year over year, which makes sense. The more homes meeting Energy Star, the lower the HERS score. Over the last 3 years, the HERS index has dropped by 10 points or 10%, sorry. The CO2 index has dropped by 18%. So why is there that difference? Especially why is like the CO2 index almost, been reduced almost double to what the HERS index was? That's most likely due to electrification and moving, from furnaces to heat pumps, or, the CO2 reference home is all electric. So moving towards electrification has a really, really big impact on the CO2 index, but it might not have as big an impact on the HERS index because the HERS index is fuel neutral. But yeah, so I think, you can kind of see a connection between the, impact of the 45L tax credit and the reduction of the, industry-wide HERS averages. Okay, so we're now going to talk about the transition from Energy Star 3.1 to Energy Star 3.2 that happened January 1st of 2025. So this is showing Energy Star 3.2 compliance rates in 2025. I know there's a few kind of states missing here. Those are states we just don't have very much data for, so we chose to exclude them. But you can see many of the biggest home builder states, Arizona, Texas, Florida, even Washington, have really high percentages of Energy Star 3.2 compliance, especially when you compare that to the industry average so far this year of 16%. So we're seeing, in Colorado, that's another big one. We're seeing that builders in these, more production style states are able to have stuck with Energy Star 3.2. Another thing I'll point out here is the connection between sticking with 3.2 and what energy code the state has. So Florida and Arizona and specific parts of Texas have energy codes that are tied to IECC 2021 or even higher. Um, and uh, if you're already building to IECC 2021, it's not as daunting to go all the way to meet Energy Star 3.2 and get that tax credit. If you look at a state like North Carolina, for instance, uh, they build a lot of homes. A lot of homes are built in North Carolina, and a lot of homes are HERS rated. But the energy code is considerably on an older version of IECC, and as a result, it's a much bigger jump to get to 3.2 from just doing your base code compliance. So that's one idea for why there hasn't been that same level of uh, sticking with the 45L tax credit. Okay, this shows Energy Star 3.2 compliance over the last 6 months in Ecotrope. So, you can see back in October, we were down at like 7 or 8%. There was no tax credit associated with Energy Star 3.2 at that time. As of, when it switched to January, it quickly rose from about 10% to, we're now up to about 20%. And, looks still climbing for now. So I think this kind of shows that transition of, as builders switched from Energy Star 3.1 to potentially 3.2, we're seeing that increase right here. And that graph I showed a few slides ago where it showed the year to date in 2025, only 16% of homes have met Energy Star 3.2. If this graph continues to go up, then that number would go up as well.
Yeah,
And
Patrick, I think there's a
yeah,
couple questions that could be helpful to address right now.
okay, absolutely.
Um, can you go back a slide, maybe?
Yes.
Um, for this, does this mean they are actually certified as Energy Star 3.2, or that the HERS index is lower than the target index to meet 3.2?
Great question. So what this means is that it passes Energy Star 3.2 in Ecotrope. Basically, it passes the green check in the quick results. This does not mean that the HVAC documentation was collected and all of that kind of additional process was completed. This is purely just, does the home that was registered with ResNet meet Energy Star 3.2 in Ecotrope?
Great. So it gets the green check mark and passes all the QA checks
Yes,
affiliated with Energy Star 3.2. But of course, at this point, we don't know for certain if all the documents were submitted either.
that's
Um,
correct.
then, um, yeah, carry on.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, so I will just mention obviously the 45L tax credit. It is currently being it is currently being removed from the budget that the Senate is working through right now. So if you want to see the 45L tax credit continue, I do encourage you to reach out to your senator specifically. They're probably the most likely to have an impact on the 45L tax credit sticking around. Currently, the proposal is that it will run through the end of 2025, and then any home that was permitted, I think before May 12th, will have till the end of 2026 to receive the tax credit. But it has a big impact on our industry. So, us at Ecotrope, we would really like to see it stick around both for us, but also for, the homes that its impact on new home construction. All right, let's keep moving. All right, let's talk about money. So 45L tax credit. Uh, in the last 3 years, this is again, good point, David. This is based on what got that green check mark in Ecotrope. So this, is kind of based off similar numbers for that 45L compliance slide a few slides ago. Over $1 billion in 45L tax credits um, have been homes have been eligible for since the 45L tax credit was tied to the Energy Star program in 2023. So that's a lot of money. That's a big impact, and um, you know it's a big incentive for builders as well. That's a lot of money for them. Okay, let's go from Energy Star and 45L. Let's talk a little bit more about HERS ratings specifically in our kind of the HERS rating industry. So this is the similar, last 4 years. Um, while 45L, Energy Star 3.1 compliance grew considerably, HERS ratings overall also grew by quite a bit. Not quite as much as, the Energy Star 3.1 compliance rate did, but we've seen market share growth for ResNet. And also just the total number of homes completed each year has gone up. We'll talk about that in a second. And so far this year, knock on wood, so far there have been more HERS ratings done through the end of May in 2025 than were done in 2024. So we're still showing growth this year. But obviously there's a lot of factors that could impact the new, the HERS rating industry. And we're already, it's already June, so might not as much impact this year, but there's a lot of unknowns for next year. Okay, let's compare it to overall home completions in the US. So if you look at HERS ratings, there's still a fraction of total home completions. So we're still in that 24, 26% range. So there's still a lot of kind of growth potential for the HERS industry. But this is where we're going to start talking a little bit more about energy code, because, HERS raters, we have a lot of valuable knowledge and tools that can be beneficial to builders, even if they maybe aren't doing a HERS rating or pursuing, a tax credit. So we're going to start talking a little bit more about this other, 73% of homes that aren't being HERS rated. So energy code only homes. Energy codes are becoming more and more complex and stringent across the country. IECC 2021, 2024 was just released as well. And some of these codes have very restrictive prescriptive requirements. But they also offer an ERI path, a prescriptive path. There's other options. So the prescriptive path may not be the most cost-effective way to meet energy code in some of these areas that have very stringent energy codes. As of May of last year, Ecotrope, we started charging for homes that were considered energy code only. And that was partially because we wanted to kind of level set with folks doing full HERS ratings. After having a year of those homes, we've seen this kind of take off in very specific pockets. It hasn't been as widespread as something like HERS ratings is, but there's very kind of specific locations where it's really taken off. So I think that's a big opportunity, and there's also a lot of places where it maybe hasn't taken off, but it could be a potentially underexplored market by HERS raters. And we're interested in supporting HERS raters in moving more and more into that space if they're interested in it. Also, ResNet and ICC, they have a partnership working to boost HERS raters' involvement in energy code. And they're offering, credentials. HERS raters is a credential for that partnership. And there might be a kind of a quality assurance opportunity here as well, eventually, where there could be quality assurance reviews done on energy code only homes, but that's down the road. Okay, So like I said, we've seen energy code only homes in very specific pockets around the US. This is just homes that have used energy code only uh, projects in Ecotrope. This is not like all energy code compliance or all HERS rater involvement in energy code compliance. This is just specifically in Ecotrope when you mark a project as energy code only. We've seen, wide adoption in Texas. Texas does a lot of homes, makes sense, but also states like Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, and North Carolina. Indiana, Iowa, and Michigan, those are not like some of the biggest uh, new home construction states. Um, and I guess I'm just pointing this out that there might be other places where there's opportunity to win additional work as HERS raters in this space. That's could potentially be underexplored at this point. Okay, uh, let's talk a little bit about the gap between how many homes are built in a state and how many homes are HERS rated in a state. Um, some of the states with the biggest gap here, Florida, Texas, they build a lot of homes. Texas does a ton of HERS ratings, but there's still a lot of homes that will not receive that will not be HERS rated. I will say this is based on 2023 data, so it's a little bit older, but a lot of these trends hold true. So I just clarify there. Florida and Texas, Florida statewide and Texas in a lot of the kind of localities have a 2021 energy code. So in a lot of these places, builders already have to put a lot of effort into making sure they're meeting energy code. It's already fairly stringent. Um, and we think there's a big opportunity here for HERS raters to potentially help builders along and provide alternatives to them. There's also states like North Carolina, which might not have the most aggressive energy code, but it does have very successful utility programs. And that might be a way for HERS raters to add to gain more homes. So yeah, if there's ever any energy codes that it would be helpful for Ecotrope to support, please let us know. We're always looking for new energy codes to support to keep HERS raters and the HERS industry on the kind of forefront of um, providing these services. So okay, all of these homes that don't get a HERS rating, how are they meeting their energy code requirements? Well, there's a few ways. There's just kind of the prescriptive checklist that the builder can self-serve. There's also ResCheck, which is a program that was supported by the Department of Energy. So I think there's even some uncertainty there of what ResCheck is going to look like in the future. Alternative pathways like working with a HERS rater. There's some places where Energy Star or a green building program is accepted for energy code. That's another pathway. There's also just places where energy code isn't really enforced, and nothing might be happening. I'd as a industry, I think places where energy code is enforced and prescriptive requirements are challenging, those are going to be the locations where HERS raters have the most opportunity to offer some of those alternative pathways to meeting energy code. And we're all ears for how we can help make that happen. Some other states, I mentioned utility programs earlier. Some other states with a large gap, Washington State, New Jersey, Arizona. All three of those states also have fairly stringent energy codes that already get the builder, pretty close to some of these other targets, and the prescriptive requirements can be pretty challenging. So, all right, let's keep going. So this is kind of the last part of the presentation today. I guess, David, are there any more questions you think should cover before we get into product listings?
Yeah, good idea. There was one about Louisiana and Mississippi.
Mhm.
They both have very high compliance rates for Energy Star version 3.2. Could you comment on that? Is
Yeah,
it a
so
code requirement or is it small state, small numbers?
yeah, I think it's likely small stakes, like small. There's not that many HERS ratings done in those states, and not that many done in Ecotrope either. So I think the folks that are primarily working there um, are really hyper focused on the 45L tax credit. I think that's kind of what we're seeing there. Um, it's not that 82% of homes built in Louisiana are meeting Energy Star 3.2. I would say that number is much, much, much lower. Um, it's just that of the homes that are HERS rated in Ecotrope, I think we only have a few companies that even operate in Louisiana and Mississippi that use Ecotrope. Those specific rating companies are very focused on the 45L tax credit. So I think it's a small sample size metric there. Um, for this graph, I would focus on some of the homes or some of the states with the most HERS ratings, like Washington, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and then in the Northeast, there's quite a bit, as well as the Midwest. But a lot of the states, if you're seeing funky results, it's likely a small sample size problem more than anything else. So yeah. Anything else, David?
No, that's it.
Cool.
Let's carry on to product listings.
All right. So product listings. So some of y'all may have seen this. I think it's been out, I think 2 or 3 weeks. I don't even remember. Right now, it is in the mechanical ventilation section. So if you go into Ecotrope and go to the mechanical ventilation area, you will see a product listings button right under the ventilation type. If you click on that, it'll open up a tray. We'll go through a demo here in a second. The way this all came about, uh, manufacturers have to submit their product performance data to Ecotrope. Um, if it's listed on the HVI database, we will use that as well. Um, all HERS raters can see every product that's listed in Ecotrope. There's no sort of like gating or permissions thing there. Uh, the goal is product listings. They reduce manual data entry. They can save the rater time and improve consistency. I think ventilation can be one of the trickier areas to model. There's a lot of different strategies, and um, it's not always exactly clear what the right way to model certain systems is. So the goal of this is to just help with that kind of modeling effort, make it as streamlined as possible, um, and yeah, give raters, assurance that hey, if I'm coming across a Broan PTEL 511, I know I can model it correctly. Um, just in the first week of product listings coming out, 8% of registered projects used a product listing, which that's a small number, but a lot of those projects had already been modeled, had already kind of gone through that process. Most of them, if we think back to the rating registration date, most of those homes had already had the final inspection done. So we're already seeing. I think 8% is actually a kind of a win that going uh, from most of those homes had already been modeled, already kind of been approved, and then for 8% to still have a product listing, I think that's pretty exciting. And we've received some great feedback from folks as well. Okay, we're gonna go into a little bit of demo here to walk through it. I'm just gonna stop sharing for a second. Um, Demo, yeah. All right. All right. So this is just kind of a random Ecotrope project that we're using for demos. So I'm going to go into edit to edit the house plan. Go to the mechanical section. Well, let's get QA track out of there. We're talking about this mechanical ventilation section. That's what we're looking at here. So right now we support exhaust only, supply only, ERVs, and air cyclers as systems and product listings. So if I want to model an exhaust fan, I can go in here. I'm able to sort by the make and model name and the max efficacy. Max efficacy, this might be more helpful for like scenario modeling. Like what's this air cycler looks like that's kind of the best bang for your buck in terms of CFM per wattage. You get some set points and the associated wattage at those set points. So at 50 CFM, 7 watts is what's expected. So I'm going to click apply on this system. So as you can see, there's certain fields that will be highlighted green over on the left. Those are the ones that will be influenced by product listings. So, okay, it put in the manufacturer, the model number, and the fan wattage. This fan wattage is based off of the measured flow rate. Okay. So, as you can see, it's like, okay, the rated CFM, the lowest set point here is 100. So the measured flow rate is below the lowest set point. So the fan wattage is going to match that lowest wattage amount. So 7.6. So that's kind of the math that's happening. If we look at ERVs, it can do a little bit more. So ERVs, let's look at you get a new field here, recovery efficiency. So that's your ASRE value. So if I go ahead and click, let's do this one. So it's populating, again, based off the measured flow rate. The rated CFM can go anywhere from 64 to 161. So there's likely a curve there. And it's taking the rated watts of 63.1 and the ASRE of 80, wherever it falls on that curve. So that's how it's working. It's basically just doing some of that manual calculation that raters had to do on their own for you. That's kind of the goal. There's also this learn more button here. This can provide some additional information. So here you go. Let me just am I sharing the right thing?
Yeah, we can see the additional info.
Okay, gotcha. Just want to make sure. So it brings you to this learn more page. You have the test points. This is basically the information we're pulling from HVI and using to apply into the model. There's also a lot of information that has been provided by the manufacturer that can show like, okay, typical price, links to the website, just kind of some information about it. You also have some spec sheets here available. So, you're able to kind of QA what's an ecotrope. Also, you get a picture here to just make sure, hey, what the product listing I modeled, yeah, it actually looked like that. So there's a lot of information here. We're trying to have this be a resource for raters. So yeah. I think that's about it for the demo here. We're gonna go
Yeah,
back.
Patrick,
Yeah.
can you stick on here just a moment? We had a question about how the watts get updated when you update the fan flow. Could you show that in your demo a little bit to show how that automatically gets recalculated?
Yeah. Great question. So, I'm modeling this Brown system. So again, we have a CFM range of 64 to 160. If I go ahead and put in 160, it automatically updates the ASRE and the fan wattage to reflect that flow rate. So, 145 watts, yep, that makes sense. We're on the high end. And then ASRE, yep, we're on the low end because it's losing some efficiency as it's moving more and more air. So everything is really tied to this measured flow rate. And, the reason for that is obviously that's a minimum rated feature. That's a requirement that you have to measure the flow rate of your ventilation system. And, we thought that was kind of the most appropriate thing to tie these product listings to. Um, so yeah, I will say, we do have air cyclers as well, which can be modeled, and there's a number of other fields that it can populate. So those are helpful as well.
Yep, and one thing is the rater can always override
Yes.
those values. So if you need to, you can make those updates yourself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, we were in here. If I change, hey, I actually measured the wattage and it was 156, you can do that, no problem. Um, so absolutely, great question. But okay, now I never clicked apply, so we're still on this air cycler up here. So, anyways, we're really excited about this feature, and we expect it to continue to grow. We're hopeful that so far the feedback has been very positive. Let me just get my PowerPoint back up and running. Um, doo, doo, doo. Right. Yeah, so I mean, we received a lot of positive feedback. Builders from all sorts of folks. It'll help QADs. It'll also help builders. There's some builders who do use Ecotrope, and they'll be able to more effectively assess ventilation products. A lot of times that's, again, one of the more difficult areas of the project to model. We're also, oh, let's go back. We're also hopeful that we'll be able to expand it to additional areas of the app. So I think we're looking at certain envelope components as well as mechanical equipment. We'll see. Nothing final on any of those yet, but we're pretty excited about it, and we hope to continue to see it grow because it has been received pretty positively so far. So, all right. Well, we've covered a lot of things today. We talked about inspection sync, rating registration gap. If you'd like to learn more about that, please reach out to info@Ecotrope. And we'd be happy to kind of show you maybe what your rating registration gap is, and also talk through talk through your inspection workflow and how we might be able to help speed it up if that's what your goal is. We also showed, how the 45L tax credit has grown over the last few years and its impact it's had on both HERS scores and HERS market share. And we talked about how, hey, with all this uncertainty around 45L, Energy Star, all these things, is there an expanded role that HERS raters can play in code compliance as energy codes get more complex? We talked about product listings, and then we're hopeful that to continue expanding features like photo storage and working with additional inspection tools in the future. Those are some of the things we're pretty excited about. All right, that's about all we had today, but really appreciate you all attending. Again, this will be posted on our YouTube page, And if you have any questions about anything, I'm Patrick at ecotrope.com. David's David at ecotrope.com. We're always happy to talk to you. We're trying to keep uh, Ecotrope as you know as effective a tool as possible for HERS raters. So that's really our goal, and it's all based on feedback we get from you all. So really appreciate that. Um, and yeah, we'll get this posted, and there'll be more webinars in the future. I think we're starting to plan one on HERS H2O and potentially some other exciting developments. So thank you all. Any questions, David, that have come up recently, or anything you want to add?
No, I think I've got all the questions answered, and yeah, feel free to reach out, folks, if you have any other questions, and Patrick or I can help you out.